Hello, Brian the Fanboy here, and today I'm gonna talk about Clarissa Explains It All. And the reason I am talking about it is because March 22nd, 2020 will be the 30th anniversary of Clarissa. Yeah, so it's been 30 years since that show started airing on Nickelodeon. Now, I first started watching Clarissa when, sometime after I got a TV in my room. I was 5 years old at the time, and I remember it was about this teenage girl who well talks about things going on in her life, and we also see her family, her father Marshall, and her mother Janice. Oh, and Clarissa also had a younger brother named Ferguson. Oh, and the family's name was Darling. Now, and Clarissa, she had a best friend named Sam. This boy who, every time he visited her, he would go up to her room, by climbing up the ladder. And I remember there was one episode when Clarissa's father will made his comment about why he doesn't use a door. That's a good question. Now, also Clarissa starts. Oh wait, well, in the show, Clarissa will talks about the kind of things that teenage she'll go through. Of course, since she was a teenage girl, she mostly talk about the stuff teenage girls go through, but she also talks about the kind of stuff all teenagers go through, in general. And now, since I was 5 years old at the time, I guess I still didn't understand much about things that go in a teenager's life. But however, when I was little, I did think about, what it would be like if I was, pretending to do this, kind of stuff Clarissa did, like, sit on my bed and, talk to an imaginary audience. Of course, back then there was nothing in my life that I thought, would be interesting to talk about. Of course, either way, it was just some way of me playing pretend. And of course, since Clarissa was a girl, there's some things I couldn't relate to her because, there are things that boys go through that girls don't, and there are things that girls go through that boys don't. I mean, that's just how that's just how it is. And another difference is that Clarissa, had a was the oldest and had a 9 year brother. I was the oldest and I had a 9 younger sister. Oh, just kidding. I mean, I love my sister, so yes, but still, I mean, Clarice's parents had two children, a boy and a girl, and my parents had two children, a boy and a girl. Only difference is that the brothers and sisters were opposite. With Clarissa being older, me and Clarissa being the oldest, and Ferguson and my sister being the youngest. So that's one difference. Another thing I remember that one of the things that happened on the show is that sometimes Clarissa would make these video games, to show how as a way to explain how things in her life been going, and usually the characters she made are actually people she knows, mostly her friends and family. And, oh yes, and so a lot of things that we talked about. Let's see. Okay, there was one episode. Now, as for the relationship between Sam and Clarissa, the relationship was mostly platonic. I mean, they're best friends, but them being romantically involved was to have happened. However, was one episode where Sam and Clarissa take on a date, but then eventually they just decide to become to just stay friends. And then there was another episode of well, okay, I'll say that there was another episode where Ferguson took over the show, although then it was all a dream in the end. And let's see, so I think what other episode I'd like to mention, I'm trying to think, yeah, I think that's all I can think of at the moment. Oh, I also remember that the people who play Lucifer Family, I mean, the main cast, well, they did appear in an episode of Nick Arcade. It's supposed to be a charity thing. And the actress who played Clarissa, Melissa Your Heart, well, she appeared in an episode of Are You for the Dark. And when I first saw that episode, I was like, it's Clarissa, because that's where I knew her from. And so the show mostly go to anyway. Clarissa Explains It All has shown a lot of different situations for the characters. Also, I remember when Clarissa would air on a Snake for some time, but eventually Melissa Hart was she was starting to get older, and Nickelodeon was mostly supposed to be a kids shows, and most of their shows was to star kids, and the older actors were most like supporting characters. I mean, they tried to make a sequel to the TV series where Clarissa moves to New York and does become a journalist. But of course, only I think only one or two episodes aired on Nickelodeon, and Melissa Hart just moved on. Oh, another thing is that Clarissa was. Oh wait, no, before that, well, now even though the show finished its run, the episodes would still air on reruns, for most of the 90s and early 2000s, I think. But eventually it stopped airing, but then came back. The reruns came back to Nickelodeon again, to celebrate the 90s. And also, well, yes, well, anyway, after Melissa Hart, yeah, Clarissa was also my first introduction to Melissa Hart. So many people in the 90s knew her as Sabrina from Sabrina the Teenage Witch. I knew her as Clarissa because, that's the show, that's how we knew her as. And also, yeah, I did watch, episode of Sabrina as well. But this show is about Clarissa, not Sabrina. Also, as for the actress, well, she did, well, now she's doing all right for herself. I mean, I heard there was a time when she did something she shouldn't have done, but, she stopped and now she's a better person. And, what I like about the way she's going to is that she's conservative and a Christian. Now, I know there are people who don't like the whole conservative ideology, but being, being that I'm conservative myself, well, I don't have a problem. I kind of like, I applaud that, I'm all for it. And, also another cool thing is that Melissa Hart, she is now a wife, a mother, and a career woman, all in one. So she made a lot of right choices, to get where she is right now. She even directed the latest episode of Young Sheldon, which premiered last week. And I was surprised when I saw it because I had to rewind just to make sure what I saw was right. So yeah, finish what I say, and also please subscribe to my video because that will help me, and share it on social media like Facebook, Twitter, whatever. So I think that's all I can say about Clarissa in this video, and I'll see you next time. Bye.